Welcome to Crime in Court. We are reading through the Delphi trial transcript. This is Indiana versus Richard Allen in the homicides of Libby German and Abby Williams, and we are on the state's case, part 12. We are going to be reading through Jeremy Chapman's testimony as well as Rayleigh Voorhies, who Rayleigh is an eyewitness who was there at Mononhigh Bridge, I believe, that day. And then we also have up first is Jeremy Chapman, who is with ISP, and he is part of the forensics team. We had the previous witness was testifying about this particular individual. The last witness we had, oh gosh, it's escaping me. He did the forensic download of Libby's phone and uploaded or extracted all the data information. And then he also was able to find and view the bridge guy video, the 43-second bridge guy video. We watched it in the last stream, and I did some side by side comparisons of bridge guy and Ron Logan and bridge guy versus and the bridge guy video versus the bridge guy that was released from the media, which were two different images. So this is the guy that supposedly is the video editing guy. So if he knows anything about, he might be the one to know what happened to that image. Let me pull that up. Hold on one second. All right, so here is the image. Let me shrink myself. So this is the image that Sloothy Goosey had put on. She did a post on X. Where'd it go? She says the top screenshot from the video directly. So this was after the Bridge Guy video was released on March 12th, so of this year, just after the trial. This is the Bridge Guy video, and then underneath she posts this. So the top is a screenshot of the video directly. So you can see he's taller. The bottom is the BS that they put out on the public for 5+ years. Why did they smush him? This guy is far too tall to be a 5'4" Richard Allen. So very odd, isn't it, that the image that was released, the bottom image, was the one that was released by law enforcement, and then when we actually get the video released, which was it was released by the defense, by the way, after trial, we see that there's some shenanigans and some effery going on, perhaps because the images don't look the same. So keep that in mind as we go into this Jerry Chapman's testimony. All right, so let's begin. All right, so we're back on the record from last time. They went off the record for lunch, and now we're back on the record for their afternoon, for the first part of their afternoon. And the court says we're back on the record. Are you guys ready? The state says, or Mr. McLeland says, yes, Your Honor. Ms. Auger says, yes. Court says, okay, bring in our jury, please. The bailiff says, all rise. The jury is in. Bailiff says, thank you. You may be seated. Court says, thank you, gentlemen. All right. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope your lunch was satisfactory. We are ready to continue. Mr. McLeland, you may call your next witness. Your Honor, Ms. Auger says, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Can we publish our Exhibit M from the last witness? Yes, you may. Thank you. And it is published. Mr. McLeland says, Judge, while she's doing that, is it okay? Do you want me to go ahead and call my next witness? Sure, says the judge. Judge, the state would call Jeremy Chapman, please, and you may proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. Questions by Mr. McLeland. State your name for the record, and he does. And I've done a poor job of this in the past, but will you spell your last name for the record? He does. Are you currently employed? I am. How are you employed? With the Indiana State Police as a system administrator. Civilian. So he's a civilian. Sorry. Well, did I say Illinois State Police before? I don't know what I said. Indiana State Police. He is He works for the police as a system administrator civilian. So he, and remember the last witness was also a civilian. Who was that? Now I can't remember. Um, Brian Bunner. Okay, so Brian Bunner was also a civilian, but he worked for Indiana State Police, and he did he like headed up the forensics unit, uh, digital forensics unit, I should say. How long have you been employed with the Indiana State Police? For over 30 years. Could you the court says, could you just sit back just a little bit? That's great for the mic, but the witness says, okay. We're getting a little reverb, says the court. The witness says, okay. Court says, that's even better. Thank you, sir. So the microphone, as the court said, it amplifies out to the crowd or crowd. There's so many errors in this. I think that would be our first error because that's not how you spell crowd. So it amplifies it out to the crowd, but not for us. But they need to have an accurate recording. So if you just sit back, I think she'll be able to pick you up. If she can't, she'll let you know. Fair enough? Yes, sir. All right. I forget where I left off. Been employed with the Indiana State Police. How long have you been employed with them? Over 30 years. And to be a trooper or involved with the Indiana State Police, did you go through specialized education and training? Yes. Can you tell me about that? Well, I went to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy in 1994 and then subsequently proceeded my career throughout the state police. I'm a retired state police officer now, and I have been for 3 years. But before that, when I retired, I was sworn. I was with the sworn side. And before your retirement in the Indiana State Police, what was your role? Specifically, it was a forensic examiner, and I had a dual role of audio-visual technician as well. Did you have to go through specialized education and training to fulfill that role? Yes, I did. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 208. Can you just identify what that is? That's my curriculum vitae, my CV. I want you to look at this one, please, first. Yes. All right. And is that an accurate, I guess, snapshot of the various training, education, things you've gone throughout your career? Yes, sir. Judge, the state would admit or move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 208. No objection. All right. Without objection, 208 is admitted. And Judge, the state would ask permission to publish that to the jury, please. You may. Thank you, Judge. And it was. Mr. Chapman, your role in the Indiana State Police or the duties you were assigned with before you retired, can you give me the title of that role again? Audiovisual technician. And how long were you in that role? That role became several years after I was a forensic examiner, so 2006 till I retired in 2021. Prior to 2006 is when you were a forensic examiner? I'm sorry, I was a forensic examiner from 2006 to the present, about 2000. It's in my CV. 2014 and 15, I got additional training to be the audiovisual technician. Well, tell me about that role as an audiovisual technician. What were your duties in that role? That would be to work with evidence and enhance audio, or in most cases, video or images. Did you have to go through specialized training and education to complete that function or that role? Yes, sir. And was that here? I'm sorry, did you go through updates and training here? Yes, sir. So I'm assuming in the courthouse? Is there like forensics training in the courthouse? I don't understand. Um, did you go through updates and training here? Yes, sir. Okay, and what kind of equipment and or programs did you use to complete your role as an audiovisual technician? Well, There's several different ones that we would use over the course of my career, but the main one would be AMPed or Axon 5, which is a video forensics suite that helps work with the video and better. Makes images better. Makes images better. Pull that image back up. Is that better? Is the bottom image better? Would you say? I don't think so. And this was the top one was pulled off by, like someone on the internet just grabbed a screenshot. The one on the bottom looks like crap. Definitely blurrier to me and definitely doesn't look the same. But he does this to make images or video better. That's what he uses that program for. And so, as an audio and visual technician, what are your capabilities? When you receive a video or a picture, what kind of capabilities do you have to work with that kind of material? So, the basic role of an audiovisual technician will be to take the media and make it presentable and clear for the trier of fact. And you use those programs you talked about. I think you said AMPed. You use those programs to do that? Yes, sir. And so within those programs and within the equipment you have, are you able to make pictures and video, I want to say clearer or crisper? Yes. But did he though? Because it doesn't look like he did. He may have the capability, but did he though? 'Cause I doubt that. He says, yes, a good analogy that we like to use in the industry is if all the data is in there in a picture or video, and my goal is to turn a light on or brighten it up so that you can see all the data that is there. So just make things a little more articulate and clear to the juror. Does that include the audio that goes along with the video that you get? It did, but the audio is different software and different techniques too. Well, what kind of software and techniques do you use with the audio? The audio would be Adobe Suite, would be Audition with the help of some plugins from Cardinal Mini Labs, which is they create filters specifically to make things sound better. And when you make things sound better, you said you use filters? Yes. Well, what is the goal of using that filter? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, it might be to eliminate some kind of background noise or, a fan noise, or just pull a siren from a police car out so that you can hear pull a siren from a police car out so you can hear without the siren. There's multiple different reasons for filters and there's multiple different filters to apply to get an end result. So does it almost make all the sounds like layered and then you can remove a layer of sound or something? It almost seems like. I'm not sure. Never used that kind of equipment, but I'm interested in learning how to. Like, that'd be interesting to take audio and like single out, take out background noises and stuff. Anyways, I want to take you back to 2017. In 2017, what position were you in? What was your position within the Indiana State Police? I was sergeant with the Indiana State Police doing the dual role of forensic examiner and an audiovisual technician. So he was a sergeant with the Indiana State Police and now he's a civilian working for Indiana State Police. Same with Brian Bunner. Do you notice that all of these law enforcement people are no longer in their same original jobs? Almost every single one is either retired or moved on to something else. I'm just curious. So, on top of what you testified about being an audiovisual technician, you were also doing forensic extractions? Yes, sir. And what kind of items were you doing? Were you doing forensic extractions of phones? Yes. What other kinds of items? Computers, laptops, iPads, thumb drives, hard drives, anything digital where the data can be stored. And how did you get involved with the investigation into the murder of Abby Williams and Libby German? I was sent a video recovered by one of our forensic specialists. Do you know who sent you the video? I think it was Lieutenant Brian Bunner, our last witness. I think it's Lieutenant Brian Bunner now. I think he was a sergeant back then. Yes, we went back and forth between sergeant and lieutenant during his testimony, and poor guy kept being called sergeant by his own people, the state. So you can't make it up. And what was the video of? It was a video of two girls and guy walking on a bridge. So, bridge guy video. I'm going to show you what's been marked, or a railroad track. I'm sorry? Or a railroad track, railroad bridge. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 200, and I'm going to play the video for you and want you to observe the video, please. Video is played. Is that the video that you received from Lieutenant Bunner? I don't know if it was played for the jury or just for the witness. It doesn't say. Well, published. States Exhibit was published, so everyone saw it. Okay. So is that the video that you received from Lieutenant Bunner? Yes, sir. And does that accurately represent the format that it came to or that you got it in? Yes, sir. Once you got that video, what did you do? I insert that video, I import it into the Amped 5 software, and I use the Amped 5 software to break it down frame by frame and look for candidates for enhancement. What makes a good candidate for enhancement? A lot of pixels and a lot of detail. And are you able to tell through the programs that you use which frames have a lot of pixels and a lot of detail? Yes, sir. Okay, do you put this video through that program? I did. Tell me what you did next. I specifically drove to let the video play towards the end where we tried to get a visual of the suspect's face and try to identify, or the person in the blue coat's face, and try to identify or get a working picture of what that gentleman may look like. And I know this may be elementary, but the person you're referring to is the male at the end of the video? Yes, sir. Is that who you're talking about? Yes, sir. Okay, and so specifically, what did you do? I looked for frame candidates that would provide me with enough information to try and get a good image of that person. And did you find frame candidates? I found 3 that were decent candidates for assistance in the investigation. And can you tell me about what you were able to find through putting those candidates through that program? Well, once I identified a potential candidate, calling them candidates makes it sound like like a HR, someone applying to an HR. It's a candidate, it's a work hire candidate. That's what it sounds like. Anyways, well, once I identified a potential candidate, I went on to try and enhance those images because they stopped becoming a video and become a picture, essentially. And then you work with that picture to try to get some enhancement, to get a better idea of who that may be or better, detail about that person in question. And in this case, how many pictures were you able to get that you had an opportunity to enhance? Well, there were hundreds of in there, but these 3 that I will present are the best of them. The others would be fuzzy and littered with artifacts and not really workable images. And did you enhance those photos? I did. And after you did this, did you draft a report about what you did? I did. And would it assist you in looking at that report to help you testify about what enhancements you were able to make to those photos? Yes, sir. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 209. Can you identify this for the record, please? Yes, that's my report for this case. And can you tell me the date your report was made? February 16th of 2017. Is that the date that you received the video from Lieutenant Bunner? I don't believe so. I just did the day I wrapped up the investigation on the case. Was this a report done close in time to when you made the enhancements to the video? Yes. And this report, would it assist you in testifying as to what you did to enhance the video? Yes. Judge, the state would ask the court to allow the witness to review the report to assist in his testimony. Court says, that's fine. So, Mr. Chapman, your report consists of photos as well. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And so I want to go through your report. Can you talk about which photos within your report you were able to enhance? So there are three, and they are the 370 would be the first one, and that's a frame number of all the frames. So we got all the way to 300, and then 347 would be the second one, and then 343 would be the third one. These are all presented a decent candidate. These all presented a decent candidate for enhancement. And all three of those frames are within your report. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And within your report, you also talk about what you did to enhance those frames. Yes, sir. Is that true? Yes, sir. Judge, the state would move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 209. It's offered. Ms. Auger says, Your Honor, I don't necessarily object to the photos contained in the report, but to the admission of the entire report, I think it would be cumulative of his testimony, unduly suggestive. Yeah, at this point, there hasn't been foundation for it either. The court says, What foundation are you asking for? He's testified it's his report. Pardon? He testified in his report. What foundation are you asking for? I'm sorry. Ms. Auger says, Well, Your Honor, there are all types of, there are references to scientific articles. There's references to what he's done, different tools that he's used. And while it might be helpful to his testimony, I don't know that the report itself would be admissible. Any response, Mr. McClelland? Judge, I think the report is admissible, and I think it'll assist the jury at the very minimum, at least the 5 pages with the pictures the defense is not objecting to, and so at the very minimum, ask the court to admit those 5 pictures that can assist the jury to look at those pictures that he's going to testify about that he enhanced. Ms. Auger says, We don't have any objection to the first 5 pages. Court says, All right, so you're not objecting to those, so I'll show that it is admitted without objection as it relates to the pictures that are contained therein. So State's Exhibit 209 is admitted, just the 5 pages of his report, not the whole report. Usually, expert reports don't come in, at least not entirely, unless there's a good reason to. Mr. McClelland says, And Judge, I would ask to publish it to the jury. I'd like to have them follow along. The problem is I'm going to have to tear off the back page, so it may take me a second here. Court says, Yeah. Mr. McClelland says, And Judge, I'd ask permission to publish those to the jury. You may. And they're published. Court says, You may proceed, Mr. McClelland. Thank you, Judge, he says. Mr. Chapman, I want to start on page 2 of your report. At the bottom of page 2 on frame 370, is that the first image on the first frame that you were able to capture and enhance? Yes, sir. And tell me what you did to enhance that. Can I refer to page 6 and throughout on my report? I have it. That's a good point. The judge will allow you to do that, so let me give you the rest of your report back. Okay, starting with, okay, have you had an opportunity to review your report? Yes, sir. And does that help refresh your recollection of what you did to enhance frame 370? Yes, sir. And so, can you tell the jury now what you did to enhance that frame? So, basically, this is pulling the video back into the Amped 5 software, and it starts basically with the video loader. So it loads the video in. Then the next thing I did was rotate the image to the correct perspective, because remember, Libby's phone was like crooked and offside, and you had to like flip the image to see them upright. So he had to flip the image. Then I cropped the region of this image, resized the image, used the optical deblurring to try and get rid of any of the artifacts that were blocking, adjusted the levels, which is a Photoshop term of bringing the lights up and down to try and increasing the contrast and colors to try and make it as pure as desirable as possible. And then, I'm sorry, and then the deblocking. This is where when video tends to jump up in frames or they use a lot of compression and it causes the blocking to happen. This item reduces some of that blocking. And then the unchart masking is basically sharpening, adding detail to the edges of pixels to make a better picture. And after you did all of that, what was the finished product? It would have been what you see on, it would be the second 370, which is on page 3. On page 3 of your report, the photograph labeled Unchart Masking Frame 370. Yes, that's the end product? Yes. And that is the product that you got after you ran it through those various programs or various techniques that you used? Yes, sir. Okay. What is the next image that you attempted to enhance? The next one was 347. Is that on the top of page 4 of your report? Yes, sir. And what did you do to enhance the photo or that frame? Again, I loaded the video, I made the rotation, I cropped it out to the specific part of the picture, I resized it, adjusted the levels and the sharpening. And where is the finished product that you came up with after you did all those steps? Beneath the first one. I'm sorry. Beneath the first one. It's okay, the bottom of page 4, correct? Yep, yes, sir. Okay, what is the next frame that you enhanced? It would be 343. And is that on page 5 of your report? Yes, sir. And is that the smaller image at the top of that page? Yes, sir. What did you do to enhance that image? That one again, I loaded the video, rotated it, cropped it, resized it, adjusted the levels, and applied a little bit of optical deblurring. What is optical deblurring? That is basically setting the focal point to try to bringing the focus that not in focus, bringing the focus that's not in focus. So you're changing the focal point in a way to make other things sharp. It's not always, it does the best it can. Once something's blurry, it's blurry. So you're only making the picture blurrier by what you did. At least I don't know for a fact that this image was one done by this witness, but I assume so since he's the one that did the images. So it's a possibility that he did crop this bottom image and do the readjustments to make it look like a shorter person and like shorter and whiter. And to me, it doesn't make the face or details any less blurry. They're all still blurry. So I don't know what the point of that was, but okay. So he says once blurry, it's blurry. Where is what finished product did you get from as a result of those techniques? It'd be the one directly under it as well. The one labeled optical deblurring frame 343? Yes, sir. And that's the bottom of page, well, the middle of the bottom of page 5 of your report. Yes. Correct? Yes, sir. Were you able to were you able to, or did you enhance any of the frames from that video? No. Did you attempt to enhance the audio? Just a specific portion of the audio. And what specific portion? The last portion of that video where the male voice says down the hill or where the male voice says something. So there's a male voice at the end of the video and you try to enhance that audio? Yes, sir. Judge, can we approach? Yes. Sidebar conference. Mr. McClellan says, I was trying to not let him get into that, but they filed a motion in limine in part, I think, on the loop of the audio as to what was said on the loop. So I wanted to address that. I do have an exhibit I'd like to play for him down the hill. It's looped 4 times and just didn't want to go into the question. I was hoping he wasn't going to say that until we have a chance to talk about it and get your thoughts on it. The court says, go ahead. Ms. Auger says, I just think that this is me saying that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. The court says, mm-hmm. Ms. Auger says, once you hear something over and over, it becomes unduly suggestive. I don't have a problem with them playing the enhancement once. Court says, okay, I don't disagree. I think the loop is excessive. Mr. McLeland says, okay, I don't have that alone, so I'm going to have to, I don't have it. What about testifying as to what he believes he hears? Miss Auger says, I think that is, he may not. I mean, what the girls say is, it's hard to understand and it becomes very suggestive once someone, claims with all of this he's using and none, so now he's no expert in listening. And to suggest that these words that's prejudicial. Plus, it is leading potentially. There's no case on point in Indiana, but the court says no, there's not. Mr. McLuhan says, I've looked and looked and looked. The closest case I could find was from Florida from 2023, actually. And they talk a lot about it. The state's belief is it comes in under his opinion as a skilled witness, and that's what they kind of said in the case in Florida. It's not binding, but that's what I could find. It comes in under the 701, 702 that he is a skilled witness. He's listened to it, he's enhanced it, he can testify as to what he believes he hears. The court says, I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with the loop. Mr. McLeland says, I won't play the loop, but I'll just have him testify about it. It goes to, because I don't have the down the hill once. It's a loop. I don't, I don't know how. I would have to work a little bit to separate that out. Ms. Auger says, I don't think he may be a skilled witness in terms of enhancement, but he's not a skilled witness in terms of hearing or linguistics or unlistening. I mean, what those sounds are on the video, that's up to the jury to decide. That's not for him. I fully wholeheartedly agree with Ms. Auger there. Court says, well, I think what your objection there goes to with the weight that they're going to give to that because they're going to hear it too. Ms. Auger says, yeah, and they can decide what it says, but for him to suggest what it says, and the court says, but I think he can, based on his experience as a skilled witness, testify what he believes as a skilled witness. Like that's not even a thing. That's not even an expert, like a skilled witness. Based on his expertise as a skilled witness, testify what he believes it says. And you are free to argue that that's not what you hear, but I don't want it on the loop, 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 loop. I'm not going to play the loop. I'm just going to have him testify. Okay. And then I don't have it singled out. Well, then you can modify your exhibit in that fashion. Mr. McLeland says, you guys have it, but he's not the one that singled it out. Oh, Ms. Auger says. Mr. McLeland says, you see what I'm saying? So I'd have to play it and stop his. I mean, I'd try to play it and stop it. Ms. Auger says, we have it on computer if you want to. Mr. McLeland says, if you're willing just to play, he didn't create that one-time play. I mean, it is what it is. I don't care. Mr. McLeland says, okay, then I can do that. Court says, okay. Ms. Auger says, see how easy and helpful I am. Mr. McLeland says, I have made copies for you. Ms. Auger says, you did. Mr. McLeland says, yeah. Sidebar conference concluded. Ms. Auger says, Your Honor, may I ask a preliminary question? I'm sorry. Before the audio exhibit. Yes. Sergeant, he responds, Mr. See, he corrected the attorneys, whereas yesterday Bunner kept being called Sergeant by McClelland all day and didn't correct it at all. Ms. Auger says, okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chapman. Do you have any specialized background or expertise in linguistics? No. Do you have any specialized background, training, skills in listening? Other than through the filters and the audio, but not as far as his speech goes. Okay. And do you have any specialized skills, training, education in hearing? No. Your Honor, I would just renew my objections. Noted. Thank you. Mr. McClellan says, okay, Judge, thank you. Those were important to get in front of the jury because now the jury knows, like, he's no more of an expert than me in listening to this, and I can put my own weight into it. So, Mr. Chapman, the audio enhancement that or you were talking about the audio enhancement that you did from the video, is that correct? Yes, sir. And I believe you testified you focused on the male voice at the end of the video? Yes. And were you able to pull out or enhance the audio from that? I attempted to lay a couple filters on it to try to improve the quality of that audio. Were you able to do that? I did that. Okay, Judge, the state's going to move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 207. The state's going to move to admit State's Exhibit 207. It's offered. Any objection other than that, which we've already discussed? Ms. Auger says no. The court says I'll show 207 admitted over objection. Mr. McClellan says, Judge, I'd ask the court permission to play now. She says you may. And was that the audio that you enhanced from the video? Yes, sir. That's the male voice that you pulled out of the video to enhance? Yes. And how many times did you observe the video during your enhancement of the photos? Let's go back. How many times did you view the video when you enhanced the photos? A dozen or so times, I would say. Well, did you continue to view the video as you enhanced the audio? No. When you were able to, did you pull the audio out of the video? Yes. And did you listen to that? Yes. And did you listen to that as you tried to enhance the different aspects of that audio? Yes, that specific portion. And as you listened to that specific portion, what do you believe the male was saying? Your Honor, I would just ask that any testimony that Mr. Chapman gives about what he believes the words to be, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube, occurs after the jury hears this. Otherwise, it is unduly suggestive. The court says, I'm sorry, they've heard that now. It's already played. Ms. Auger says, I'm sorry, I apologize. Court says, okay. The witness says, well, my opinion is he says down the hill. That's my opinion. I don't have any other questions, Judge. Ms. Auger. So he did the audio, probably the same audio that was released to the public. And so that makes me think that because we've heard the down the hill on repeat, on a loop. So I think that's what's been out there in the public. And that makes me think even more that this image below was done by this particular civilian who works for Indiana State Police. I don't understand, but okay. All right, so that was the end of direct. So we're going to go into cross with Ms. Auger doing the questioning. All right, Mr. Chapman, if you could put up your report, sir. Is it 209 now? So you put the video in the software and it does its magic, if you will? Yes. In simplified, non-specific, it does the work. Yeah, I just tell it where to go. Okay. And so when I look at the picture on the bottom of page 2 and the picture on the bottom of page 3 is the, if you will, unenhanced frame. Is that correct? That's right, next to each other. Or they're right next to each other. The unenhanced and then the enhanced is right next to it. 2 and 3? 2 and page 3, yes. Okay. And so page 2 is the unenhanced image. Yes. Page 3 is the enhanced image. Yes. Okay. And page 3 is a little different than page 2. Yes. Okay, because you changed it. Yes. So that's no longer the original image. Correct. And the software does some, I think, I probably can't even pronounce this word, interpolation? Interpolation, yes. Interpolation. See, I told you. Yeah. Thank you. Interpolation. The interpolation is a method that uses known values to estimate some unknowns. Yes. This was, I remember a post by somebody, I want to say it was like Fiend on X. Somebody talking about, maybe it wasn't Fiend. It was one of those people that are in the R&M crowd, R&M Productions, um, who is knowledgeable about video and talked about this interpolation and how it's a loop. It's like it takes an image and it'll loop it to make it look like a video, if that makes any sense. And this whole thing is not like that's what they released to the public, was that the way that he walked, that interpolation thing was the way he walked in, and that's why it looks so weird. The video that was released to the public that we all see, that the media showed us, he looks like he's walking weird. It's because he's taking the same steps back, like in a loop. It's the same, it's just in a loop. That's the interpolation thing. Okay. Anyways, so he says yes. Okay, and it could be a method of constructing new data points based on a range of discrete, of unknown data points. Right. So we're kind of doing the best we can, but maybe what's your question? I'm sorry. In terms of what the software does to change that image. Yeah, the software gives me a few different choices to choose the interpolation for that, for the resizing. You're specifically talking about resizing the picture. Okay, because that's where you would use the interpolation. All right, and it says unchart masking. Unchart masking would be the sharpening tool, basically. Okay. In the three frames that you've enhanced, basically at the end of the day, they're changed. Yes. You took some sounds out. Oh, the audio. I have nothing further. So the things you've submitted are altered. The sound you've presented is altered. Why should we use these as evidence? Court says, Mr. McLeland, I don't have any other questions, Judge. Thank you. The court says, does anybody on the jury have any questions for Mr. Chapman? No response. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. You may step down. Okay. You may call your next witness. Oh, Ms. Diener. For the first time, we're going to hear from Ms. Diener, who is calling Rayleigh Voorhies Garrison for the state. Rayleigh Voorhies electronic voice. Rayleigh Voorhies Garrison home. Ms. Diener says she's on my phone. Sorry. What? She's on the phone? That's odd. I don't know. So she called Rayleigh at home. So Rayleigh's not in the courthouse. Okay, I don't remember this. I don't remember her not being actually present. But somehow she's sworn in from Ms. Diener's phone. Okay. Direct examination of Rayleigh Voorhees. Okay. So Ms. Diener says, Ms. Garrison, would you state your full name? Rayleigh Ann Voorhees. And could you spell your name for me, please? My first name? All, the whole name, says the court. And she does. The court says, yeah, you're really going to have to speak up nice and loud, okay? Okay. Yeah, that microphone will not amplify. Okay. Okay. In 2017, did you live in Delphi, Indiana? Yes, I did. And were you a student at Delphi High School? Yes. Do you recall how old you were and what grade you were in? 16, sophomore year, 10th grade. Okay. Did you know Abby Williams and Libby German? I knew of them, but I did not know them personally. And as a high school student in 2017, did you have a cell phone? Yes, I did. And did you use social media? Yes. What kind of social media applications did you use to maybe keep in touch with your friends at school? Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. And were either Abby Williams or Libby German in your friend group of your applications? I do believe I had them as friends on social media. Do you remember Monday, February 13th of 2017? Yes. Do you recall that it was a day when there was no school? Yes. They were making up a snow day, and because the weather was nice, they were given a day off. Do you recall what you did on that day? I took a walk on the High Bridge Trail to go take pictures with my camera. And is that something that you did often? Yes. Okay. Would you tell the jury about how often you would go to the High Bridge and what you would do when you were there? Yes, I would go at least 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes every day. And sometimes I'd go twice a day. I'd usually just go to take pictures or sometimes just to take a walk when it was nice out. That's about it. Would you go alone with friends? What was your habit? I went by myself pretty often, but sometimes I would bring friends or a sibling with me if someone wanted to tag along. And so, what did you do on Monday, February 13th of 2017? I was at my dad's house and I wanted to go take pictures and my sister who lived there with me wanted to go. So I went with her to walk towards the bridge, and you have to walk all the way through town. And I passed my friend Bree Wilbur's house. She's going to be a witness as well. So I wanted her, or I asked her if she wanted to come too. And then farther along the path to the bridge, I stopped at my mom's house and brought my other sister with me as well. And so then the four of us took the trail up to the high bridge. So this individual, her two sisters, who we don't know who they are, their names. So, oh, here. So there's Rayleigh Voorhies, her two sisters, and then Bree Wilbur. Okay, you mentioned taking a sister with you from your dad's house. And what sister would that be? Isabel Voorhees. Okay, so now we have a name. And what was Isabel's age in relationship to you? Younger, older? Younger. She was maybe 12, and she was my half sister. Okay. Well, did you even need to bring that up? Who cares? So she's your half sister. Okay. And then you say you stopped at Bree Wilbur's house? Yes. And how do you spell Bree Wilbur, if you could, for the court reporter? Brianne Wilbur, she spells it. Thank you. And so, did she live along the path that you would take to get to the high bridge? Yeah, you would walk past her house to get to the road to take the trail. Yes. And did she go with you that day? She did. Was Bree Wilbur in your grade? Yes. So she would be of similar age? Yes. Did you and Bree Wilbur go to the high bridge often? She went with me a few times. I wouldn't say often, but we had gone together before. So she did not go maybe as often as you would? No, I wouldn't say so. And then you said you stopped at your mother's house. Was her house also along the path? Yeah. And you picked up another sister? Yes, Anna. And was Anna of similar age or what would be she would be about 13 or 12 or 13 as well. Okay. So maybe you could show us on the map your path. Would that be permissible, Judge? Yes. So Bree and her are the 16-year-old sophomores in high school, and they've got her younger sisters who are 12, 13-ish, like not tagging along, but coming along with them. All right. So maybe you could show us on the map your path. Would that be permissible, Judge? The court says yes. To have her come down, can everyone see the map? You should be able to. I'll give you a second to take a look at. Okay. Does this map look familiar to you? Do you see where town is? Yes. Okay. And then do you see Highway 25? Yes. Here's 25. The court says, okay, you need to talk, you need to speak up. These folks cannot hear you. The witness says, sorry. So this is Freedom Bridge, right? So my mom's house would be over here somewhere. Okay. You don't have to find her, okay, you don't have to find her house, says the attorney. Okay, so then if you follow here, you come up right here on this trail. Okay. And then cross Freedom Bridge, then follow through down here until you get to the Nature Preserve Trail. Is that where you're at? Sorry, I can't really read the map. That's okay. So I'll make this a little closer. Put this down. Okay, can you see where the high bridge is? Is it right here? That's up to you. Does that look like the high bridge to you? I think so. Okay. So you would come from town. Yes. Across Freedom Bridge? Yes. And follow the trail? Yes. And go to the high bridge? Yes. Did you go to the end of the high bridge? That day, I did not go all the way down to the opposite end. I think the farthest I went was the first platform. All right. You can have a seat. Thank you. So that particular day, you had three other people with you? Mm-hmm. And that was a yes? Yes, sorry. Okay, that's all right. And you walk to the high bridge? Yes, correct? Yes. Okay, when you get to the high bridge, do you go out onto the old railroad trestle portion? Yes. And how far do you go? Probably out, only out to the first platform. Okay. And do all of you go? I don't believe either of my sisters went all the way. I don't believe either of my sisters went into the bridge, and I don't think that Bree went any further than a couple planks. And that, and what time of day did you make this walk to the high bridge? I believe I left my home around 11:30, so I probably got to High Bridge around 12. Okay, so you're at the High Bridge. What do you do besides walking to the platform? I went on the platform to take pictures and then I came back off of it and I went down underneath the bridge to take pictures down by the water. So she was on the bridge and under the bridge, which we know that the girls were found down below the bridge but a ways away, but their clothing and everything was in the creek around this bridge and probably could have been noticeable from there. I mean, this is obviously 12 o'clock is before the crimes happen, but that's her route. So you're at the high bridge. What do you do besides walking the platform? I went to take pictures, came back, and went underneath the bridge. Okay. What camera were you using to take these photographs? A Nikon camera. I think it's a D500. So not your phone. No, an actual camera. When you get to the high bridge, you go out onto the platform. You said you come back and you said you go down off the side. If you're looking at the high bridge and you're on the walking trail, which side do you go down? The right side. Okay. Is there a path on the right side? No. And so, how do you decide how you're going to navigate down the hill? There's an area where there's less brush and trees, and as if someone else has walked down it, you can kind of see that it's walkable. It's not an easy walk. It's a little bit steep, but it's you're capable of walking down if you're careful. Did the whole group of you go down the hill? Yes. And when you went down the right-hand side of the beginning of the bridge, do you go all the way down to the water? Yes. What do you do while you're down there? I just took some photos of the water and like nature behind the area, just the woods, wood and rocks and stuff. Okay. And then where did you go from there? We went back up the same way we came down, and then we started to walk back towards Freedom Bridge to go home. Now, when you leave that day to go to the Freedom Bridge, do you remember what weather was like that day? It was a nicer day. It was sunny. It was 47 degrees. We were wearing light jackets. It was a nicer day. That's why we decided to take the walk. And some people might say, well, why does she know it's 47 degrees back on that particular day? Can you explain why you know that? My dad was worried about me being too cold without a jacket, so my stepmom checked the temperature at the time before I left home. So after you take your pictures down by the water and you're back up at the trail, did you see anyone on the high bridge while you were there? No, I did not. And when you turn to walk back, are you walking back towards home, towards town? Yes. Do you see anyone on your way back to town? Yes. When I was almost back to Freedom Bridge, a man walked by, walking towards the bridge, and I said hi to him. Was he the first person you saw? On the way out, yes, but I had seen another person walking their dog when I myself was walking towards Freedom Bridge on High Bridge. I'm sorry. So you saw a person walking a dog on your way to High Bridge? High Bridge? Yeah. Uh yes. And then you saw someone on your way back to Freedom Bridge? Yes. Okay. Now, was it unusual to see people or was it unusual pretty quiet out at the trail? Okay, let me restart that. Was it unusual to see people, or was it usually pretty quiet at the trail? I don't know what you observed. I don't think that there were often people. On nicer days, I would see people walking their dogs or jogging occasionally, but not super often. Did you recognize the person that was walking a dog? I did not. Did you recognize this person that you saw when you almost got to a Freedom Bridge? I did not. Did you have a particular time that you needed to be home that day? Yes, I had to be home at 2:30 because my sister was with me. Was there anything noteworthy about this person that you saw on the way out? I remember that I waved at him and said hi, and he did not say hi back, and he, like, kind of glared at me a little bit and did not seem to be a happy person. Here's where you would say, can you identify that person? Is that person in this room right now? And ask her to say, is it that, is that Richard Allen? Point him out. Is the defendant that you see, is that the person that you saw? Like she never once is going to say that because they don't ask her. Now, after you go home that day, do you learn at some point that Libby and Abby had gone to the Monon High Bridge Trail? Yes, I found out at cheer practice later that day. And did you also learn that they were missing that evening? Yes. Do you remember how you learned that? Bree told me at practice. Did you have any thoughts about the fact that they were missing from the high bridge when you had been out there? I thought it could be possible, or I thought it could perhaps have something to do with the man that we saw walking because he seemed grumpy at the time. A grumpy man. So automatically a grumpy man is a murderer to her. Okay. And was kind of unsettling. Okay. Well, what about this man? Like, tell us more about this man or not. I don't know. Did you or the other girls with you have any conversation about this particular man as you were walking out of the trail? I just told him that he seemed to be unhappy. They didn't notice him particularly, so they didn't have a lot to say in response. After you go home and you find out that Libby and Abby are missing, are you then asked to give a statement about the person that you saw on the bridge? Yes. Do you believe that you did that rather soon after that particular day? I believe it was the next day at school. I'm sorry, it would be the following, not the day after, the day after they found, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday, sorry. And I'm going to backtrack a second. You have your Nikon camera. Do you take any pictures with any other device that particular day? On our phones for social media. Okay. Did you use other people's phones besides your own? I think Bree and I both took photos on phones and maybe with each other's phones of each other. Okay. And you said for social media, can you explain what that would be for? Like if you open the Snapchat and take a picture, it has the option to immediately post it to your story, so directly to a platform, not just to be in a camera roll. And so did you do that for your own social media? Yes. And did you take any pictures with someone else's phone for their social media? Yeah, I took a picture of Bree on the bridge for her to post on with her phone. So she took a picture of Bree with Bree's phone so Bree could post it. Did you have any communication with Libby and Abby during the time that you were on the bridge? I did not. So at some point then are you asked by law enforcement to give a description of the person that you saw? Yes. And what were you able to tell them? That they were overdressed for the weather, in my opinion. They were wearing darker clothes. They had their face covered and a hood on with a hat also. Was it a male or a female, if you knew? A man. Was that person Caucasian or another ethnicity? From what I could tell, a Caucasian. And why did you draw the conclusion that he was a Caucasian? White skin, not dark, just regular white skin. Were you able to see the man's full face? No, he had something up over his nose and mouth, like a running mask of sorts. And so, motioning on your own face, how far up did that mask come? Like around the nose, not up around the eyes, but above the nose. Over the tip of the nose? Yeah. And you said it was a hat as well as a hood? Yes. You said darker clothes. Did you notice anything more than just the fact that they were dark in color? Not particularly, just that it was overdressed for the nicer weather when we were only wearing jackets and they had on like a heavier coat and a hood and a hat. Hmm. Okay. What about hands? Did you see the person's hands? I believe that his hands were in his pockets at the time that we passed him. So then, after Libby and Abby's bodies were found, do you hear about that the same day that they're found? Yes. And in the days that follow, there was information released that had a still image of a person, a male, on the high bridge, and he became known as the bridge guy. Do you know of who I'm speaking? Yes. The photo image, the one that we've all been talking about today, this bottom one. That image, bridge guy image. Um, the photo image. Yes. Not who, but the photo image. Yes. May I approach the witness, Judge? You may. Ms. Voorhies, I need to show you this for you to for identification. So I can tell you it's marked as State's Exhibit 210. Do you recognize this image? Yes, I do. Do you recognize it as an image referred to as Bridge Guy? Yes. Judge, the state would move to admit Exhibit 210 and publish to the jury. It's offered. Ms. Auger says it's probably already been admitted. Is it one in Chapman's report? Ms. Diener says it may be a larger image of that. I can't tell you for sure. No objection. The court says, all right. Without objection, 210 is admitted. Rayleigh said, and published. Rayleigh, do you remember how you first saw this particular image? Exhibit 210. I believe that I saw it on Facebook for the first time. When you saw this image, did you find it to be familiar to you? Yes. And in what way was it familiar? When I saw the image, I realized that that was the man that I had waved at on the trail. Wait, I thought you said hi and now you waved? Or did she say waved and said hi? I don't know. That did not respond? That did not respond. I'll pass the witness. The court says Ms. Auger. She says thank you. So now we're going to have a little bit of cross here. All right. Sorry. Now, Miss Voorhees, I'm sorry, Garrison? No, it is Voorhees. I have not legally changed it yet. Oh, okay, Ms. Voorhees. You were off. of school on February 13th, 2017? Yes. But you still had cheer practice? I was wondering that too. Yes, I believe it was a makeup snow day, so we didn't have a snow day, so we didn't have to go to school, but cheer practice was still scheduled for the day. Hold on, the dog needs a blanket. 1 second. Sorry. She says, so she didn't have to go to school that day, but cheer practice was still scheduled. Okay. And you had to come home by 2:30, right? Correct. All right. And you had a little bit of practice in this travel from the let's do this. Would you mind stepping down for a moment? Okay. And Ms. Voorhees, can you kind of stand over there so that the jury at the end of the TV, so the jury can see? And can you point to where you were traveling to go home? I believe this map does not cover the part of town my dad lives in. My mom's house, though, would be, I believe, this one. Okay. And can you stand over to the side a little bit so that everyone can see your point? She indicates on the map again, that one. And then you had to be home at 2:30 to your dad's, right? Right. So that's even farther west, north, south, east, west. Yes. Yeah, I'm kind of challenged too. All right. And so this is the Freedom Bridge and the trail connects in this little circular spot here. Right. Was that there in 2017? It was. All right. And can you point to us where you were when you saw the man you thought was the man from the video? In this area over there, closer to the end, but still in the trees. Close to the end and still in the trees? Yes. Okay, thank you. Now, you got to Breeze on your way home. You got to Breeze house about 2:20. That sounds accurate. Yes. All right. And you said that you probably got to the opening about 2:15. That sound accurate? Yes. And when you do remember giving a statement to Steve Mullen, do you remember giving a statement to Steve Mullen on February 15th, 2017? Was it at the school? Yes. Yes. Okay. And when you told Mr. Mullen where you were when you saw that bridge guy in 2015, right? I believe so. 2017. Yes, I believe so. And do you recall telling him that you were leaving the Monenhigh Bridge Trail, which is a few yards from the Freedom Bridge? I believe I said that. Okay. And so just a few yards to you means how many yards? I will say that I don't know that that was the most accurate word to use. I think that I probably just didn't have a great grasp on how to convey the distance. Okay. And that you saw the man you believed, the bridge guy, about here at 2:15. Is that right? Yes. Okay. And that is 2 minutes after 2:13, right? Yes. So 2:13 is the time of the bridge guy video, so it can't be. Okay. And Mr. Mullen had you draw a map when he spoke to you on February 15th. Do you recall that? Yes, I recall. And you put a time down that you saw the man on the bridge? Yes. Okay. Have you seen that since then? Have you seen that since then? Yes, I think every time I've spoken to the police department following I've seen the map. Okay. Now, the man that you saw was in all black, right? I had said all black, but then when I saw the picture, I did recognize the man in the photo as the man that I saw. I think that the unhappy demeanor, red, read as red as dark clothing. His unhappy demeanor read as dark clothing to me. Okay, I don't get that. Well, you told Steve Mullen that he was in all black. Yes, and you even said black jeans. Yes. Black hoodie. Yes. Black boots. Yes. and black mask. Yes. And his face was partially covered by a black cloth? Correct. Somewhere above the nose. Yes. Okay. And he had on a hat. Mm-hmm. Is that a yes? Yes, sorry. His hands were in his pocket. Yes. So that kind of this area is what you were able to see? Yes. So somewhere mid nose to just a little above the eyebrows. Yes, maybe a little further up on the forehead, but not by that would be more accurate, I'd say. So right here. So basically like here ish is all you're seeing. So somewhere mid nose. Yes, maybe a little further right here. Yes. I have no idea where I'm pointing to. That seems more accurate. Okay, now you also described the man that you saw in his early 20s or 30s, correct? I believe I said that. Yes. Okay, and he had a bigger build, or at least it seemed to be because he was wearing heavier clothing. Well, you said bigger build. Do you recall that? Yes. Do you believe he had a bigger build? Yes. Muscular. I don't know that I would say muscular, just larger. Richard Allen is 5'4" and little, teeny tiny. Okay. Do you recall giving a statement on February 17th? At my, yes, I believe. Is it Anna or Annalie? It's Annalie. Okay, and you gave a statement on February 17th where you were with Annalie and yourself and Holly Spaff. My mother. Holly's your mother? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, and on February 17th, do you recall saying that the man you saw was muscular? I do not recall that, but if I said it, I believe that I could have said it. So she believes she could have said it. All right. He had dirty blonde hair. I remember saying that as well. How do you know if he was wearing a hat? And it was long enough to be sticking out of his hoodie? Yeah, that's my question there. I wouldn't say it was super long, just you were able to see the color, the hair color. Outside of the hoodie though. Yeah, but not like any part, not like very lengthy, like not super long. It just you were able to see what color his hair was. This chick, her answers, I just don't get. Sure. And long enough was my word. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yes. It was long enough to come out of the hoodie. Yeah, sorry, yes. All right. And it was curly? I don't recall saying that. I'm going to show you a transcription of a statement that you gave on February 17th. Okay. Does that look to be a transcription of your statement? Yes. Okay, can you see that? All right. And can you read your statement, what you said on line 14? It says, quote, it was like curly. Curly, long, sticking out of his hoodie. That does not describe Richard Allen. Richard Allen has had the same military style haircut, buzz cut since the military. He guys don't change that usually. Or some guys don't. Like some guys are stuck with I've been buzz cutting it my whole life and I'm gonna stick with it, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, that would not stick out of a hoodie, in my opinion, his hair. So and Richard Allen wasn't wearing all black. So who is this mystery grumpy man? The court says this is improper impeachment. Ms. Auger says okay. Court says I'm sorry. All right. Can you read just yourself, your statement? Yes, I see. Okay. There wasn't even an objection. I just want to say there wasn't an objection, but the court just says it's improper, which you she really shouldn't have. Like she shouldn't interject unless someone objects. All right. All right. Can you read just yourself, your statement? Yes, I see. Okay. And you believe his hair to be curly. Did you tell investigators his hair was curly? It appears at the time I did believe that. Was this the poofy haired guy that Betsy Blair saw, maybe? Not sure, but perhaps. Um, okay. You also said he had brown eyes. That sounds accurate, yes. And a wrinkly kind of face. Yes. Square jaw? I don't know how I could have said that I don't know how I could have said that with his face being covered, but yes. So she said he had a square jaw, even though his jaw was covered. Okay, and you also recall giving a statement in 2021. Probably, yes. I think you came up from Huntsville, maybe. Yeah, that. And talk to the police. Does that help? Yeah. All right. And in 2021, do you believe that you can accurately describe this person now, or have the things that you've seen affected your memory? I do think that my memory has been impacted by the imagery. So she can't be sure because her prior statements before the images were released, she says, guy in all black, curly hair sticking out of the hood. I could see it was like a blonde, a dirty blonde, and he had brown eyes. Richard Allen has blue. So, and not muscular, not a big guy. So, there's a lot of inconsistencies in her description of who she saw and Richard Allen's body type, and it's not the same. Miss Voorhees, I owe you an apology. Oops, I did misspell your name. She says that's okay. Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm going to mark Defendant's Exhibit O, which is. May I see the exhibit? Says Ms. Diener. Oh, yeah, sorry. A printout of a map that we talked about. Mm-hmm. Could you circle on that map where you saw the man you believe to be Bridge Guy? I believe somewhere in that area. Okay, and that was at 2:15? Yes. Can you write down 2:15 for me? And she does. Thank you. Move to admit Exhibit O. No objection. And it's published without objection. May I publish it? You may. Okay. Ms. Voorhees, you are 5'7"? Yeah. Okay. And the man that you saw was taller than you. From the perspective I had, yes. Okay, so 5'10"? That seems like it could be accurate. No further questions. So a 5'10", muscular, brown-eyed, sandy blonde guy with curly hair in a all black, wearing a hood with only portions of his face out, and none of those descriptions sound like Richard Allen or even are consistent with Richard Allen's body. Also, the video that Libby took was timestamped 213. So this dude and the guy on the bridge are not the same guy, clearly. So I don't know if he's a suspect or what, but he's definitely not Bridge Guy. And Bridge Guy, I don't even know if Bridge Guy is a suspect, to be honest. Because just because he's in a video near the girls doesn't mean that he's the one that did it. Even though I do kind of think that it is Ron Logan, perhaps, but I digress. All right, let's get to redirect with Rayleigh Voorhees. So Ms. Diener says, Ms. Voorhees, we're going to backtrack a little bit, okay? Okay. You said on your way to the High Bridge you saw a man walking his dog? Yes. Which direction was the man walking his dog? He was walking towards Freedom Bridge while I was walking towards High Bridge. Okay, so opposite direction. Correct. You spend your time at Highbridge, you're walking back. Yes. Toward town. Yes. Do you and your friends make stops along the way? Yes. We stopped at a bench to take some pictures. And do you recall how far down the trail you were when you stopped to take a picture of the bench? I don't recall exactly how far it was, but I know that the barn with the green roof was in the background of the picture, so it was along where that would be. And so, would that be in the section between the High Bridge and the Mears entrance? Are these houses or buildings along behind the trail in that area? Can you show the entrance again? Mears entrance, High Bridge. He must have shown pictures or shown it on the map, he indicates. I believe it would be slightly past that entrance, she says. So over this direction. Yes. Okay, and so you stopped at a bench to take a picture? Yes. If there was a building in the background that had a green roof, were you on a bench on the north side of the trail or the south side of the trail? The north side. Do you see the building with the red roof in this particular picture? Do you know where that is? The green roof? Or the green roof, sorry. I believe so. Can you come down and show us where that is? I believe it would be this building right here. Okay, so you're pointing to this one right here. Yes. Let's use the pointer so you can back up to make sure that the jury sees the whole thing. I believe it's this building right here. Okay. So that looks like it's a farm building, the green roof, and it was the in the background of the picture. When you gave your, well, in relationship to that building and that bench, did you see the bridge man, the bridge guy after that photograph? Yes, it was after. And so it had to be somewhere between the green roof building and the plaza? Yes. Okay. The particular picture that you took that had that building in the background, who was in that picture? I believe it was a picture of Bree and I, and part of my sister was cut off on the left side. Okay. Do you think Bree also had pictures of that? It's very possible. Okay. And oh, you can have a seat. When you were giving your statement to the police, was there any other man that you saw between the green roofed building and the plaza? No, I only saw one person on the way out. Okay. And was that, that was the man that you identified as Bridge Guy? Correct. Had you ever given a statement to police before? I do not believe so. Have you ever been asked to estimate someone's height? No. Had you ever been asked to estimate someone's weight? No. Had you ever been asked to estimate a distance? No. But she can. She's a human. Like, she has human experiences. She can estimate things. Did you have your did you have the benefit of having something with you that had a timestamp that would tell you when a particular photo was taken or when you saw Bridge Guy? I do not believe during my statement I did not have access to my timestamps. Okay. And you indicated that you saw the Bridge Guy when you were walking towards town. Which way is the Bridge Guy walking? Towards the High Bridge. So when you saw this picture of Bridge Guy in the media, was it shortly after the girls were found? Yes. And at that time, did you have any doubt that this was the person you saw? No, I would say I was certain that that was the man that I walked past. But you just said that he was wearing black clothes, uh, curly hair sticking out, and all this other stuff. And he was tall and like 5'10" and muscular. And now I don't know. She's still not saying that it's Richard Allen, though. Do you see what's happening here? She's still not saying it's Richard Allen. So they can go back and forth all they want on the description of this particular person on the bridge, but she's still not saying, yeah, it's that guy, Richard Allen, right there, sitting right there. I saw him. Nope. So when you saw this picture, was it shortly after the girls were found? Yes. And at that time, did you have any doubt that this was the person you saw? No, I would say I was certain that that was the man that I walked past. And this picture doesn't help you with anything about his face other than maybe that he's Caucasian, does it? No. Is this picture similar to the person that you saw in any way other than clothing? Is there anything about this that causes you to conclude that it's the person you saw? No. No other questions. Ms. Auger does have some recross here, really quickly. All right, so Ms. Auger says the picture you saw influenced your memory, right? I can say with confidence that the person in the picture is the person I walked past. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Now she remembers and she can say with confidence, baloney is what I would say. Baloney. Okay. And I appreciate that. But my question is the picture that you saw influenced your memory. It's possible, yes. And I'm showing you States Exhibit 210. You saw black jeans, correct? That is what I said. You said a black coat. That is what I said. A blue hat? I believe it was the hood that I said was blue. I could be incorrect, but okay, all right. And black mask covering the bottom portion of his face? Yes. Nothing further. Court says, all right, does anybody on the jury have any questions for Ms. Voorhees? No response. All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. The witness says, thank you. Ms. Diener says, Judge, may this witness be released from her subpoena? Any objection? No. Court says, and she is free to go. This would be a good time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to take our afternoon recess. While you're outside the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You may discuss the evidence that you've heard so far, but again, please, only if all 16 of you are there. And again, don't deliberate, blah, 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 blah. And we go off the record. Actually, yeah, the court says let's take 5 minutes. Jody can go off the record. 5 whole minutes you get. They did take longer than 5 minutes, but I just think that's funny. You get 5 minutes. That's it. You can't go to the bathroom with a whole horde of people going to the bathroom in 5 minutes. That's just impossible. But okay. Especially for us women. Sorry, but it's true. We take a long time in there. All right. So we are going to stop here. Oh, I hate when it does that. Okay. So we're going to stop here. We're off the record. And then we will continue on with our next witnesses. We're going to hear from Brianne Wilbur, who is obviously Rayleigh Voorhees' friend who went with her that day at the trails. And then we're going to hear from Betsy Blair, who may have some differing opinions, different things that she saw. And she's very, very consistent in her answers. So I'm looking forward to reading through Betsy Blair and Brianne Wilbur tomorrow with you guys. So thank you so, so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye now.